we do know about the mental health and wellbeing outcomes of LGBTIQ people is that generally we have much higher experiences of psychological distress, depression, anxiety, trauma. We're much more likely to self-harm, we're much more likely to have thoughts about suicide, and we're much more likely to attempt suicide. When we compare those statistics for our community to the general wider, broader population. We do know there's a direct correlation between experiences of prejudice, stigma, discrimination, violence, abuse that results in people having higher rates of poor mental health. So we know that within our community, if you're an LGBTIQ person who has experienced violence on the basis of your sexuality or gender, you're more likely to have poorer mental health outcomes. So there's a direct correlation between those two things.
I meet too many folk who live outside the narrative we've created as a queer community, which is a clear indication that the narrative is broken. Sure, at some point we've all used that narrative to justify our break from a heteronormative lifestyle. But as a community, the use of this narrative has made us prescriptive and has isolated us as individuals. I am a foster kid. I was raised by a mother who didn't have the tools to deal with her mental illness, and in watching her, I've developed skills of my own in managing my own mental illness. I am a survivor of rape. At first glance, people see me as just another cis, white, heterosexual male, and very uninterested in hearing my story. Rape is still considered a women's issue. You've got men are considered monsters instead of victims of patriarchy. But the real question is, why is it so important for me that people want to hear my story? And in answering that question, I realize that it doesn't. People have their own stories that I'm not listening to. We as individuals owe each other no form of solidarity just for suffering. All people need to start telling their stories. We as a community, if we want to keep calling ourselves a community, need to start teaching each other how to tell these stories. This is why Wendybird is so important. This is why workshops like this are so important.
What I've come to understand, so I've worked in mental health for quite a while, and what I've really come to appreciate is the role that belonging plays in our mental well-being. And that when we belong and we have our place in the world and we feel like we fit in, our mental health is much better. And there's a whole bunch of other factors that contribute to our mental well-being as well, but I've been particularly interested in that concept of belonging, mostly because for many LGBTIQ people it's really difficult for us to find, and it's something that we tend not to have much of. So I've been really particularly interested in that framework of belonging and mental well-being, and that when we're isolated and disconnected, generally our mental health is poorer. So that experience of coming along to a community event, knowing that you're not alone, meeting other people, having conversations, and maybe forming some connections, making friendships, people knowing your name and remembering your face and go, oh, how are you? And that sense of walking to a space and being recognised, it's something quite small, but actually something that can have a really meaningful impact on your mental health.
I'm not an overly social person, so if it probably wasn't for Wendybird, I probably wouldn't come out. So Wendybird gives me like a sense of community.
Well, I started coming to Wendybird just as a member of the community. I started coming about 2 years ago. Came along with my partner and my children. We had such a positive experience that, you know, I thought I can see something magical's happening here and I want to be a part of it.
It's changed my life so much. If Wendybird hadn't been around, I personally would have taken my own life. That's how serious it got.
I've always felt a bit like I don't fit in or belong to mainstream society or the gay community, and it's nice to come along and chat to people that are a bit different.
My experience, it's been great. Met other like-minded people and been able to be myself.
The Wendybird is across the whole alphabet of the LGBTIQA and beyond spectrum, including allies. And as such, it's got this sense of connection that crosses boundaries that normally exist between those letters and the groups that are within them.
They welcome you regardless of, size, gender, sexuality. It's a family environment and there's no alcohol, which I love.
Every Wendybird's got a different theme and different things that you can participate in.
They do the icebreakers and introductions at the beginning. There's family and kids around. It's not just based on drinking and going out late. And
from the time you set foot in the door or through the gate, there's always someone to welcome you. My first time, Chris was here. He welcomed me, and then from now on, always got a hug and a smile. So even if you're not a regular, they do make you feel welcome. And generally, if there's not someone here that you know, they will sort of introduce you to someone. So you've got like a buddy system sort of thing, so you're not just standing around like a Nigel.
The atmosphere at the Wendybird event is like a very relaxed, social backyard barbecue. Couldn't be much more Australian if it tried.
The fact that there are quizzes and games and things like that where they go, right, everyone together, we're going to involve everybody in this. You don't have to, but it's encouraged, it's nice.
I like that Wendybird is not at a pub, it's not alcohol, it's very alcohol drug free, kids can come, so I like that it's very family friendly. And also sometimes you see a bunch of teenagers here where they can sort of be here, be themselves, be safe.
It's a really warm group, they always welcome you when you arrive, and it's knowing that it's always there. If it's pouring with rain, they'll send out a message and go, it's raining but we're meeting anyway, come along, that kind of thing is nice.
I think the key thing is with Wendybird is that connectivity.
Every time I come to Wendybird, it's like, although there's always new people, there's always some of the same people, and they're always really happy to see me, and I just feel I can be me here.
Feeling silenced by the space between the hurtful words, heard on a weekly if not daily basis. Feeling lost because words shouldn't hurt you if you're strong. Because everyone's allowed to have their opinions. Because allied support is, don't worry, marriage equality will soon be here. The choice to let go, feel vulnerable, to find a space which isn't just a community inside a community. I ask everyone in this room, where should we go as a community? Should we just drink from the alphabet soup because it's simply what's offered? Should we ask for more? Should we put something under our tongues that gets us talking? I want the roar of my heart to be started much like the engines of the dykes and bikes. I want to be squeezed by the community and sewn into the quilt bag like I do at a Sporty's bake sale. I'm asking everyone to bring their flip-years, their arts, their crafts, their flags and stories. From the ground up, we will build the clouds everyone can float on. Queer worlds colliding. We can copy, paste, cut and mash. A little bit of this, not so much of that. Squelching in this delight of difference and falling into the arms of solidarity. I'm asking you to sew, stitch and glue a festival for all queers, by queers, destroy the silence and create connectivity.